Come to lay down. Get yourselves comfy. And I'll explain the theme of this evening's practice. Okay, can you hear that music? Okay, volume? Yeah? All right. If it gets too loud, come up close to the screen and kind of wave at me or pull faces. The same if anything's going wrong, and we'll kind of sign language our way through what it is. Okay, because sometimes the music gets a bit loud. Sometimes it can't be heard at all. So please do any final little adjustments, wriggling, whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself comfortable. And this evening's theme is all set around autumn, moving into autumn. So just as you let your body settle here, allowing the shoulders to drop, the face to relax, the legs to be heavy, autumn is a time of letting go. As the trees let go of their leaves, we have to let go of what doesn't serve us and make time for ourselves. Time for bedding in, resting, nurturing, grounding. And when we let go of the stuff that we don't need, whatever that means to you, we invite change. Life is a cycle of changes. So rest, renew, and hopefully awaken recharged. And Yin is often mixing traditional yoga with Chinese medicine and all of the meridians, the elements. It's just being with the breath, long, slow, steady breaths. And the element for autumn is metal, shiny, brilliant. And it is said the metal element within us gives us a sense of self-worth, self-esteem, just as metal adds value to the earth. If this element, it is said, becomes imbalanced within, we are likely to see the gifts of our being and our unique attributes. We won't see them. Metal gives structure to the earth, structure to us as a person, precision, routine. And the organ this is said to relate to in Yin, this autumnal time, is the lungs and the large intestine. So I don't usually delve too much into the Chinese medicine side of Yin, but this evening I thought I would add this in just for information, contemplation, as we prepare for winter, returning to the earth, time for rest, the part of the cycle where we have taken all in that we need, all that the earth has to offer. So just allowing yourself to drop into your mat. And this practice being associated with the lungs. Feel the air moving in and out of your lungs. And always in our practice, if your mind becomes really noisy, it's just what the mind does, you can just keep listening to my words of poetry or contemplation, or just let those words just float over you. Any time where I'm not speaking, you might wish to count the breath, or even just to silently in your mind recite Om on the exhales. So when the mind wanders off, keep trying to draw it back to the breath, or some focus, count of the breath, or Om. And so you can bring now any movement into the body you feel that you need to do. So it might just be little movements. You might want to take a big stretch. And if you feel like you want to give the back a massage, then if you haven't done it already as your movement of choice, then you could draw the knees into the chest and just rock a little from side to side. Again, this is just options, just putting these things out there, not things you have to do. And our first position, as I say, will be supine butterfly. And so with this position, you could either lay on your back with no props underneath you, just with the feet either side of the brick, or you bring the feet onto the brick. That just changes how it feels into your low back. If you have back discomfort, having the feet on the brick might be a good idea, and the feet not too close into the body, so further away is better. If, again, back issues, you might want to pile up all your cushions underneath your body, underneath your back, and lay on the cushions so that you're not so far down, you're a little bit lifted up, and that can be really comfortable. So take the time, faff about. The yin faff is really important. So make sure it's nice and comfy, a place where you can then drop and be still. Remember, if your hips need a bit of support, put a cushion under each thigh. You do want to feel a stretch sensation to the inner thighs, but it shouldn't be excruciating. comfortable sensation. Being present. Breathe. Relax. And feel. Take the time to slow down the pace of life, to top up against the detrimental effects of stress. Watch the rise and fall of the chest and the belly as you breathe. Watch the rise and fall of moods, thoughts, feelings, sensations. And just let all of these things, as best as you can, just drift by like clouds, allowing all to be. Just present in each moment. And just notice if you're tensing or gripping anywhere in the body or the face. We do spend so much of our time being with a low-grade tension being held in the body. It might be a protective thing, especially if you've had pain in the past or an injury. We get protective, holding ourselves, gripping, which serves us for a time, but then we have to let go of that tensing, because it can only exacerbate any problems that there may be. It becomes, like all things, a cycle. We protect because of previous pain with something, and then that protection starts causing us pain. So relax everywhere. When you notice that little tense thing come in, that little bit of gripping, it might be in your jaw, your forehead, your shoulders. Let it go. The key is the noticing, recognizing our habits. And then from here, if your feet are on a brick or either side of the brick, just use a foot to carefully just move it to the side, very careful as you move. And then use your hands to close the knees back up and come into constructive rest pose. So we're going the opposite way with the legs. So we've been in external rotation, now we're going internal. So open the feet wide and drop the knees in towards one another. And if you're laying on a whole pile of cushions, if it feels good to be still there, you can. Or take them away and let your back be flat now. We're using this position today as our rebound, to just kind of let the body settle a little from the position we were just in. Good, and then from here, slide one leg out long along your mat, and then the other. Maybe just give the pelvis a little bit of a rock from side to side, or roll your legs in and out. If you're still laying on piles of cushion from your supine butterfly, time to take them away. Oh, do I have to? Comfy. And we did this one last week, and it's such a good back release that we're going to add this one in today as well. So you will need your brick. So if it's down by your feet, you could grab hold of it with your feet and slide it in towards you. Or if that doesn't feel like that's accessible, then get up to get your brick. And we're going to do restorative bridge into pontoon. So if you're not using a yoga brick, you can, if you wanted something a bit softer, you could use a cushion, but this is going to be too thin. So if you're choosing a cushion, I would say to try and roll it up into kind of a bit of a sausage, so it's a bit thicker. Okay, so you could use that under the buttocks if you wanted to. So we're going to have the legs bent, and we're going to bring the brick or the cushion underneath the buttocks, and it's wide across the buttocks, not long ways in the same direction as the spine. It's across. And then just bear your weight into the brick. Just allow the body to be heavy. And just keep the legs bent for now. We have other options coming up should you want to go with them. If you don't feel you're high enough, if you're using a cushion, you could try and slide another one underneath. So this position kind of helps to reset the sacroiliac joint. The spine meets the pelvis. But it also helps the hip flexors to just sink into the body and relax and release. And even more so in the other positions that we're going to do. So if any of the other options I give doesn't feel good, you just come back to this one. To where you are right now. If you feel sturdy on your brick or your cushion, then you could see if you could draw the right knee in towards the chest and take hold of it. You could either hold over the top of the knee, or what I prefer to do is put my hands behind the knee, and then the leg is kind of locking the hands there, and the hands are holding the leg there. So it's just a little less effort holding behind the knee. And if you feel like you're moving off the brick, just adjust a little bit, scoot the bottom back onto it. So we've got the left leg still bent right now, and we've got the right knee hugging in if you're doing that option. So this is really relaxing that right hip flexor. And just allowing the nervous system to just acknowledge that. Just check in with your shoulders, your jaw, forehead. Check your default places of tension. And then for the next option, you could start to slide the left foot along your mat. So you're starting to straighten that left leg. It's not going to go super straight. You don't have to be active in stretching it or anything, because if you're on a brick or fairly high cushion, just by taking the leg out, you might already get a nice sensation of stretch across the front of the left thigh, hip. So we're relaxing the hip flexors on the right side, and they're getting a nice lengthening sensation on the left. Again, feel free, if this doesn't feel good, go back to one of the previous options that did. There might be a time that you need to sigh the breath out. Don't hold that back. Do it any time that feels like it's there to be done. Keep coming back to your breath. And keep the right knee drawn in, but carefully start to slide the left foot back in so the knee is bent, the foot down onto your mat, and then release slowly, carefully, the right foot back down onto the mat. Both knees bent, feet down. So we're back to our starting position. And before I go to the other side, I always kind of like a little bit of just a little bit of a buttock squeeze, a slight lift from the brick, and then back down. Just because it's not the most comfortable thing to be on, but it does do a good reset for the back. Okay, so we're going to take those options to the other side, starting off just first of all, drawing the left knee in, taking the hands behind the knee. If you feel like you're going to fall off the brick, do a bit of adjusting. Mine might be moving just because I'm on a slidey throw rather than a mat. So we just stay with this one to start off with, just hugging the left knee in, allowing the nervous system to register the release of this left hip flexor. So again, forehead, jaw, shoulders, and anywhere else that you have a habit of gripping. And you might find as you focus to the breath that that left leg starts to get heavy in towards the body a bit more. And you could stay with this, or you can come back to this if you don't like the next option. We could start to slide the right foot out along your mat, starting to lengthen that right leg. So maybe now you have that lengthening or stretching feeling across the front of the right thigh or the inside of the right hip bone. It depends on what your activities are day to day as to how much you're feeling the sensation of length on that right side. But our hip flexors, if they don't get released and stretched, they can pull the pelvis out of line, and that gives us back pain. So good to have healthy, happy hip flexors. And then carefully start to slide the right foot in so the knee is bent. And then bring the left foot back down, knee bent. Now, really important that after you've taken the prop away from underneath you, that you lower down slowly. Don't crash down. So you'll probably need to dig into your heels a little bit here to lift the buttocks up. And if you feel you can't lift the buttocks up, use your hands. I've done that before. To actually lift the buttocks up with your hands and then slide your prop out and come down slow. And then take your rebound, slide one leg out long, then the other. Make sure the legs aren't too close together. The rebound is like the echo of the pose, so just to notice sensations after that where there might be heat or coolness, any buzzing, tingling kind of sensation, or a feeling of energy, blood flow. Just all these things we may or may not feel. Just take the time for a moment now to notice. Good, and then we're going to come into a kind of lazy figure four. So we've got some options, as always. So one option is that if you've got like a million cushions, you could pile them up down by your feet. So that instead of having a leg or a foot floating up in the air, so for example, if I was to have my left foot onto my pile of cushions, I then have my right ankle onto the left thigh. So that the legs are kind of in towards me, but I'm not having to hold them. You could also do that up against a wall. So you could bring the left foot against a wall if you're near a wall or a sofa. It doesn't have to be on your pile of cushions. Or if you're pretty open in the hips, you can just kind of let your figure four legs sort of drop in towards your belly if they kind of float there. I might be alone with that one because I'm slightly weird, but it's an option. Good. That's it. And should we hold on to the leg whilst it's coming in towards us? Well, if you want to do that option, I'm not going to limit you and say no, but it is a bit more active to kind of hold onto the back of the thigh. And we do that in a lot of our other practices anyway. So this one, keep it a bit lazier. Keep it yin. So most of the poems that I'm reading this evening are from my favourite poet, Dana Folds. She always just captures the essence of yoga and life. And again, you can focus on these words or you just let them float over you. Just using them as contemplations if you want. Go in and in. Be the space between two cells. The vast, resounding silence in which the spirit dwells. Be sugar dissolving on the tongue of life. Dive in and in. As deep as you can dive. Go in and in. To where there is space. To where there is peace. Let go. Dissolve. And just be. Remember when the mind gets noisy, come back to your breath, count the breath. Om internally on your exhales. Or sometimes what I find the most effective for me, just sometimes, is to just draw in my mind a laying number 8, the symbol for infinity. Just tracing it in my mind's eye. Also really good to do when you can't sleep. And then from here, we're going to carefully transition ourselves to the other side. So no rebound between the sides. We're just going to carefully change it over. And it might be that on this side you might want to do a slightly different variation, because there'll be differences within the hips, and having the foot piled up on the cushions, it just might not give so much sensation on this side, or it might be more. You might feel like you want the legs to just drop in towards the body, or you might want to hold behind the thigh, but again, just be careful with that option. You're not tensing up around the shoulders. And then starting to ease your way out of this, so unravel the legs. If it's possible with your feet to kind of shimmy your props down the feet end of your mat away, just using your legs, great. If not, if you need to use your hands to move the props out of the way, take care. We're going to come into your rebound position. So just with the legs out long, making sure the feet are wide enough apart. In our next position, we're going to do caressing twist. So I'd recommend props for this, 1 or 2 cushions. So we're going to roll onto the right side. So come to lay on your right side and have your knees out in front of you at a right angle. So your knees are in line with your hips. And then I would say maybe 1 or 2 cushions, have one underneath both legs and one in between the legs. Okay, so depending on how you feel when you do twists and how much the top leg tends to lift, you might want to double up that cushion that's between the knees, possibly. Or it might be that you need both cushions underneath the legs. So see what kind of feels comfortable to start off with in your position. I'm going to go for one under and one in between. And you're going to reach the right arm out in front of you. So your right shoulder, you're drawing it out from underneath you, and let the head drop down. Now, if you don't like the position of your neck in that place there, then you can put on a pillow, put a pillow under you, but not anything kind of too high. Then we're going to bring the left hand onto the right arm. You probably won't meet hand to hand. You don't have to. Okay, so shimmy that right shoulder right out from underneath. Inhale. And as you exhale, draw the left fingers along the right arm, across the chest, and unravel into your twist. Open up. Inhale as you close the position back up. And exhale as you open. So keep going with that. If you find that this bothers the left shoulder, you don't have to take the arm all the way out to the side. You could pause once your left hand gets to the left shoulder. You could just get to that place. Or it might be that you want to bring the knees up a little bit and stack them up a bit more on cushions. That will also bring some ease into the opposite shoulder. So again, remember, you're never stuck in, set in stone. You can adjust and change your proppage. Inhale as you close the position up. Exhale as you unravel. And again, because this is a twist, this might be bringing up that protection mechanism in you. You might be gripping, a little fearful of the position, the movement. So try to be really soft in it. You don't have to keep the lower body really stuck and still. The pelvis can move as well. And you might want to continue with the movements, or in your very near future on an open position, maybe pausing there and finding stillness. Again, if you need more props, take more props. Let go of something, somewhere. Use yoga to become aware, to touch what lies beneath the surface of the skin. Is there tension longing for release? a knot of fear so deep and familiar that you believe it's part of who you are. Can you ease into those dark corners, those locked rooms, unexplored hallways? But gain entry not by force, but only by softness, with the breath. So again, just another way of saying, don't try to grip and hold in these twists. And I say this from a place of knowing in my own body that if there's ever been pain or injury or discomfort, we get a little nervous, we hold that in the body. And not just in yoga, but out in life as well, the way we hold ourselves, the way we sit, the way stress affects our posture. Just like the leaves on the trees in autumn, we need to let it go. Then we're going to carefully close the position back up. So we're not going to lift the knees, the legs, they're going to stay as they are. But with the left arm, just draw it back across the body and roll back onto your right side. And you could even bring your hands or your arms underneath your head. Maybe even draw the knees a bit closer in towards the chest, so curl up into a small ball like you're laying in bed. And then start to ease your way onto your back. So little movements. And then we're going to roll onto our left side. So if you was using props, take them over to the left. I'm going to spin around just so that I'm still facing you, but don't feel you have to do that. You could just roll over on your other side. So laying on your left side, knees out in front of you to a right angle. Maybe you want the same setup as the other side, maybe one cushion underneath the lower leg and one in between the legs. And reaching the left arm out in front of you, wriggle that left shoulder out from underneath you. And just letting the head rest down or be on a cushion or pillow. Bring the right hand onto the left arm. Inhale. And then you unravel on your exhale, drawing the fingers along the arm, across the chest, and open. Inhale as you close it back up. And exhale as you open. Now, if it's the right shoulder that feels more uncomfortable than anything else as you do this, so you don't feel you can get the shoulder down, You could pause when the hand comes to the shoulder. You don't have to extend the arms straight out. Or you might need to prop your legs up just a little bit higher so that it doesn't pull on the shoulder in this twist. Inhaling as you close the position back up and exhaling as you unravel. Using those exhales for the sense of release, relax. Really floppy in the body, really soft. Allow the lower body to move as it needs to. It's not stuck, rigid. There'll be plenty of times in other practices I'd say to keep the pelvis still, but it doesn't need to be right now. And you could carry on moving if it's feeling good. Or in your very near future, when you're in an open position, maybe pausing there and finding stillness. Head can be neutral, so it can face up or it can turn to either direction. Use your exhales to give in to the shape that you're in. Those little habits returned. The face, shoulders. Or are you tensing around the legs? And we're going to keep the legs where they are. Start to close the position back up. So that right arm comes back up and over. You're laying back on your left side. You can bring the arms underneath your head. You can draw your knees in a bit closer in towards your chest so your back is rounding. And then from here, carefully press yourself to come up. We're not coming all the way up into sitting, we're just lifting up a little bit so that we can then make our way down onto our belly to come into Sphinx pose. Now, if you have back issues, nice thing to do. So when my back feels a little tender and I don't want too much of a back bendy shape, then I place pillows, one or two, across where my low belly and hips are going to be. So it just takes out any arch in the low back. So that might be an option to do that. Just to lay the pelvis across the pillows. And so Sphinx is where you have the forearms out in a number 11 shape. Your elbows are underneath your shoulders. And I forgot to say, which I should have said a bit sooner, sorry about that, that if you want your brick, you might want that out in front to rest your forehead onto, or something softer if you've got a sturdy cushion. And if you've done what I suggested in having the cushions underneath the hip bones and it doesn't feel good, you don't have to stay with it, you can take them away. I realised I've put two and it feels too much today. Go for one. And if you're not using a brick under the forehead, you can just let the head drop as long as the neck is all right with that. Or you can move the head around every now and again, little half circles. Focus to the breath. It's normal to feel dull ache in the low back or a feeling of pressure. They're generally okay sensations with this one. However, it shouldn't be going into sharp pain or stinging territory. So if it is, then I would take the elbows out to the side and rest your forehead onto your hands. That might be a better option for you today if being in Sphinx is just too much for the low back. And you can allow your body to kind of sink into your shoulders. You don't have to be actively pressing the floor away with your forearms here. If it bothers your shoulders, take your arms a little further forward. And then if you're in Sphinx, you're on your forearms, then allow the elbows to slide out to the side, and everyone come down to rest your forehead on your hands. Maybe with a gentle rocking of the pelvis from side to side. And then we're going to lift into a little mini baby cobra and move back to child, just to be in child briefly for a back release from where we are right now. So bring your hands, palms down by your chest, and inhale as you lift the upper body up carefully. Transfer to your knees, move nice and slow, and take the buttocks back towards your heels. And if you don't like that position for your knees, then stay a little higher with the buttocks and just drop the chest down. And then carefully come up. We're going to find butterfly. So we already did a laying version. Then we're going to do a seated version. Carefully make your way onto your bottom. And you could put your cushions, one under each thigh if you wanted to, for a bit of support for your hip. If it's more about the low back that needs the support, then you might want to be sitting up on cushions, just so that any coming forwards doesn't feel like it pulls in the low back. So being sat up on the cushions, 1 or 10, can help out with that. And if it's just a case of, actually, I don't want to come that far forward, then pile everything up in front of you. Make your little tower block of cushions and comfiness. And I even roll one extra one up so that I can drape my chin over. I can really flop into it. That's it, Claire. That's a lot of cushions. That's fabulous. Yep. You could use your yoga brick to put underneath the head if you wanted to, so that you've got a bit of space to be able to breathe amongst all that cushioning. Or again, my preference is that I kind of have one of the cushions rolled up to rest my chin over. And then we're trying not to grip with the fingers. So I know you might want to hold on to all your cushions and cuddle them, but a lot of the time that will put a bit of tension in the shoulders, and we're all about dissolving. So can you just let the arms just flop out in front? And a class with the theme about autumn and letting go would not be complete without my favourite poem by Dana Folds, which is called Let It Go. Let go of the ways you thought life would unfold. The holding of plans or dreams or expectations. Let it all go. Save your strength to swim with the tide. The choice to fight what is here before you now will only result in a struggle, and fear, and desperate attempts to flee from the very energy that you long for. Let go. Let it all go and flow with the grace that washes through your days. Whether you receive it gently, with all quills raised defense against invaders, take this on faith. The mind may never find the explanations that it seeks, but you will move forward nonetheless. Let go, and the wave's crest will carry you to unknown shores, beyond your wildest dreams or destinations. Let it all go and find the place of rest and peace, and therefore certain transformation. Remember those long exhales. When the mind gets noisy, to come to your breath, to count it, to om with it, or to trace that infinity symbol in your mind. Then to come out of this, place your hands down beside the thighs, press into your hands to help lift you up, come up slow. So using your arms to come up, not your back. Move your props out of the way. And then use your hands to close the knees up. And we'll do windscreen wiper legs. So once you have space behind you, take the hands back behind. You can lean into your hands. And then you open the knees and feet wide. Breathe in. As you exhale, drop the knees to your right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. And then you can carry on for a bit more if you want, if you're liking your windscreen wiper legs. Or you could do tabletop position, where you've got the hands back behind you and you lift the buttocks up. Just an option. Good, and then from here, we're going to come down back onto our backs. We won't be coming up again, so important that you put on your layers and that you have your blankets nearby. And the only props that you might want is when we come to relaxation, which won't be just yet, that we've still got one move to do when we're down there. But the only props you might want is just your cushions or pillows that you might want to have underneath your knees when laying down, just because having something under the knees tilts the pelvis a little bit, takes the arch out of your low back. So instead of being in constructive rest, if that's always the choice that you make for relaxation, know that you could put your pillows and your cushions under your knees when we come to it, okay? So have them nearby. Make your way down onto your back. Once you're there, draw your knees into your chest. And open the knees wide out into frog pose. Hold the shins or the ankles. And it might be that you stay in frog, or you could come into happy baby. So it is a little bit more active, this position, because there's a slight sense of drawing the knees down either side of the body. You might be holding onto pinky toe edges of the feet. But again, if holding the feet brings too much sensation into your shoulders, then I would say you're probably better off just holding the shins, or maybe even just being in frog pose. So only you can decide right now. What's the position of choice there? Is there a balance between effort and ease? If you're in happy baby, you might be getting sensation into the hips, the hamstrings. That's all okay, as long as it's not like screaming sensation. As long as you're not crying inside a little bit with it, you know. A little bit of sensation's all right. Relax the jaw, the forehead. just a few more breaths in the shape that you're in. There's not a super long hold here, just because I don't want you to gather tension up around your shoulders and your neck. And then start to close the knees back up. And if you feel you want to stir the legs around a few times each way, you can do. Remember what I said when we set up for relaxation. So, if constructive rest pose is the only place that you can be, okay. Or as I say, you could try with a couple of cushions or pillows underneath the knees. I would actually say a couple more than that. So if you're using pillows, I'd go for one pillow under each knee and maybe one cushion, a combination of the whole lot. So then you can kind of feel the length in your low back, and you can allow the legs to relax. And of course, that is really just a suggestion. If it does not work for your body, no problem. Do what works for you. I'm going to give you a little meditation, so need to make sure you're comfy. So again, just scanning your body, making sure that you are as relaxed as you can be. And just taking a long, slow, deep breath in. And let it go. I'd like you in your mind to imagine that you are sitting beside a lake on a fine summer's day. The lake is placid and still. The sun is shimmering on the water, creating a slight heat haze. And through the haze, you are able to make out a small island. The lake is surrounded by high mountains. All is quiet. All is still. And as you gaze out, a slight breeze begins to blow away the heat gaze. And you sit and gaze for a while as the haze completely clears and you're able to see that island more clearly. And on the island you can see a lone tree. Surrounding the tree are bushes laden with deep blue blossom. You can almost smell the perfume from the blossom. And at the edge of the lake is a small wooden bridge. This bridge takes you over the lake to the small island. The water is very shallow and the bridge is solid. You decide to walk over the bridge. You are able to see the lone tree glinting and glistening, golden leaves. And it's as though each leaf is catching a glint of sun. As you come to the end of the bridge, you're able to smell the perfume from the blue blossom. This is a flower that you've never seen before. The blossom hangs like giant globes of blue light. As you make your way towards the lone tree, you see that the golden leaves, glittering in the sunlight, have words written on them. You go towards the tree. Each leaf is impressed with golden words: comfort, strength, healing, friendship, help. The tree of life is full of golden leaves, each one bearing a positive thought. And you are allowed to borrow whichever leaf you feel you are in need of at this moment. Or you may be thinking of someone else who is in more need than yourself. All the leaves are so bright, and you look up into the branches and choose your golden leaf. This tree of life that holds these golden leaves invites you to sit back and relax against the strong trunk. You hold the leaf in your hand, thinking of the positive thought. Hold still. Hold fast. And feel the golden light from the leaves surround you as you sit in quiet contemplation. When you are ready to go, you place the golden leaf back on the tree and make your way across the bridge back to the lakeside. And once again, you just come to sit, maybe even lay down in the grass, with that positive thought still held in your heart. And you relax. You relax. Relax. Remembering that when the chimes happen at the end, if you want to stay longer, just ignore the chimes. Take a long, slow, steady breath in. And let it go. And if you want to, you can bring any movement into the body that feels needed or good. And it might be that you just want to do little movements, or you might want to have a stretch. You might want to do knees to chest, rocking and massaging your back. Or you might want to do windscreen wiper legs. Again, whatever feels good in your body. And then rolling to the side and coming up into sitting. Then we take the arms wide and up. Inhale. Bring the palms together above your head, and then exhale, prayer pose at the heart. Bow the head to the fingertips, acknowledging all that we should be grateful for. And thank you, as always, for choosing to do your yin yoga practice with me. Namaste. Thank you.